Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming. Thoughtless, casual gaming.
Hello, you're listening to Thoughtless Casual Gaming with Brett and Jace. We are a Geelong-based gaming podcast where we play games badly and then talk shit about them. And by God, you're going to hear about how badly we played.
Oh my God. It's like next level badly.
Oh, yes.
Like this is a special kind. Oh, yeah. Choice doesn't necessarily mean skill, talent, ability.
No, definitely not. as we are about to prove. So this week we wrapped up our fourth League of Sevens here in Geelong. Shamelessly called the Thoughtless Sevens League number 4.
We are very original at naming things. Like you can.
Oh dear, I've already got number 5 up there too. So we ran this one a little bit differently though. So we thought we've run a couple of Sevens leagues. We've run them by the book. And Sevens is fun, it's fast, it's quicker. Blood Bowl, it's somewhat less forgiving, let's say, in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But the one aspect of it which is slightly less fun than 11s, let's say, is the progression.
Yeah, and so if we go back to what Sevens is this whole idea of an amateur league and that whole idea that if a player gets too good, there is a good chance they will get drafted to a semi-pro team. So all skills are random normally, and once you start accumulating skills, there is a good chance that player, or there is at least a chance that player, you will just lose from your team.
Mm-hmm.
And we have had leagues where that has happened, and any player, for some teams, where any player that has got a skill, firstly, you end up with some interesting or suboptimal skill choices that are not completely unusable. So you kind of have to run with it, but are not at all useful. And then secondly, anyone who gets a skill gets drafted, which means often you have players who realize this now go, well, I'm not going to put skills on my positionals because I would then need to replace them. Whereas if I just scale up linemen, I get drafted, I get a journeyman. Life is like about evens. And it doesn't really matter if they have shit skills. You can fire them if you want and ride with that. So there's it. What it does, though, is really limit and almost remove the in-between game stuff that you have in an 11s league where it's like, ooh, I've got some points to spend. Am I going to do it now? Am I going to save up? What skills am I going to take? What's my skill? What's my next skill? And try and actually build players because you're frankly terrified to build players normally.
Mm-hmm.
And it then means that the interaction you have with the game is the hour and a half of playing the game, and that's it. Whereas in a broader league or a league where you've got that skill progression, you actually have time in between games to enjoy the game and to think about what you're going to do and to consider options and to kind of strategize and plan and all those stuff. So in some ways, it actually reduces the amount of Blood Bowl fun you have.
Definitely in some ways. So this league, we thought we'd try something different, and we introduced star player points to sevens. So this is the way that 11s teams level up. we just let it happen in sevens. So the drafting's gone. You get star player points. You can pick and choose your skills or do whatever you can choose. Random if you like. The choice is back in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a success.
I think if early feedback is anything to go by, people really enjoyed it. It did give those. There are a number of players who have only played with us and have only played sevens and have only ever experienced the kind of, you get a random skill, oh fuck, I have Dauntless again, that kind of piece.
On a treatment.
Yeah. Where now they went, oh, I can actually make my players good and I don't have to freak out that they're going to be gone next game. So it kind of, it adds the next element of the game into it for a lot of people, which I think was good fun. And we also did have in previous leagues, all of the vampires quit a team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
I think in the last 2 leagues that we've done, I've had maybe one halfway decent skill as one of my randoms. And that player got drafted like the next game or the game after.
Yeah, you often hear, particularly from some of the newer players who be playing a game, you get to the end of it and they're like, what does Ironheart Skin do? Like, oh, here we go. Defensive. What's defensive?
Yeah, so giving players that option meant that by the end of the league, we saw some pretty skilled up teams.
There was some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was some scary teams.
There were indeed. And we had 21 people playing. So we had 3 divisions of 7 players each. We ran everybody play everybody. So every team played the other 6 teams in their division. And then we had quarterfinals and finals. So quarterfinals, the top 4. Whichever
we played games, and then we played more games, and the winner of the more games was the winner.
Yes, exactly. So today's episode is just a bit of a rundown of the league, how it went, who came out on top, who gets the bragging points. Spoiler alert, neither of us.
Are there anti-bragging points? Because can I have those?
I think you can. Yeah. Anyway, 3 divisions. We have done this in the past. I don't think we've done it up to 3. I think we've had 2 in the past.
We've had 2, but yeah. Yep.
And the idea we do behind divisions is top 2 in the bottom divisions go up, bottom 2 in the top divisions go down, keeps the, players playing different people and different skill levels and stuff like that. And originally people are divided up between what I have randomly thought is, most, what's the word there?
We're trying to
proficient.
We're trying to balance experience more than anything, really. Yeah. So, there are a number of people that have played an absolute metric shit ton of Blood Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people who have played their first games, just before this league. So let's try and kind of pair up like levels of experience where we can. And, there's a lot of very ambiguous and kind of off-the-cuff decisions where we do that. But, it balances out.
Yeah, it does. So, 3 divisions. Top division, we have, I'm just going to go in order of sign-ups here. So, Ant playing High Elf. Yourself, Jace, playing Human. Liam playing Halflings. Yelv playing Dark Elves. Myself playing Vampires. And, for the new vampire rules and teams and stuff like that, I was the only one, which kind of surprised me. But anyway, spoiler alert. Probably a reason. We had James playing Imperial Nobility and Josh playing Humans. That was Division 1. Division 2, we had Oz playing Dwarfs, Dill playing Underworlds, Chad playing Goblins. Was he really playing Goblins?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw one of Jed's games. All right. Archie playing Imperial Nobility, Jared with Wood Elves, David with Orcs, and James with Amazon. And then finally, Division 3, we had Moose with Ogres, Alice with Nurgle, Crodenhurst with Imperial Nobility, Kingsley with Orcs, Lewis with Humans, Alex with Black Orcs, and Dylan with Shambling Undead. So a bit of a range there.
It was a really big mix. What, you've got 3 humans, 2 Imperial Nobilities, 3 Imperial Nobilities, but a really good mix and a reasonable mix of dash and bash.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think for the most part, the divisions were always set apart quite well. Obviously, next season, which we've already got sign-ups for, things will chop and change depending on how many people we get. But top 2 from Division 2 and 3 will go up. Bottom 2 from Divisions 1 and 2 will go down. Things get mixed up a little bit, and of course, people will be playing different teams, which always makes things interesting.
Yeah, mix up with it, it'd be fun.
I have totally not worked out what I'm playing next season, but anyway.
I mean, you kind of have. You keep saying this.
No, I really haven't. I've got a couple of options. I've got one placeholder in there, but I don't know that that's going to come to fruition. All right. Shall we go through our teams a bit?
Yeah, let's go through and just chat about sort of our teams, what the thinking was, and then vaguely how games went, like without giving blow by blows, hey? What the fuck was my team?
You played humans.
I did play humans. Now, last season, Yalv played humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yalv won. Now, I
was
then
that
played humans.
Your thinking?
No.
Your thought process? I would have won.
Well, no. See, that would have been very ironic. No, my thinking was I had the Grebo puppy team that I really wanted to use for something. They're so good. They're gorgeous, and I really wanted to use them. And I bought the human nameplates, so I had all the human positional pieces for them. So that was kind of decision 1 partially made. But then Yelv went and rudely won the last season. And I went, shit, I can't. I don't want to be that person that went, oh, you won with this, they must be good, I'll do that. So my thinking with the human team went along the lines of what Yelv did very cleverly was get a reroll in team creation. And that made a huge difference over the course of the league. Him having that reroll that he had in the back pocket and no one else really doing that was glorious. But I went, no, rerolls are not for sevens and they're not for me. We're not doing that. That would be silly. The next thing I could spend money on and really aim for the bash would be an ogre. No, we're not doing that either. We're not going to do that. Let's see what happens if we don't do any of those things. We get ourselves a bench, so we start with our 8 players and see what inducements can do. So, look, realistically, it was thrower, 2 blitzers, a catcher, 4 linemen, off we go. This seemed like a brilliant idea to me. You've still got really good movement in the 2 move 7 blitzers and a move 8 catcher. You've only got the 1 liability strength 2 piece in the catcher kicking around, but he's still pretty god solid. You've got a decent throwing game at a pinch, and I've got a bench, so you can afford to kick some people if you need to, or if, manage that. But in my brain, that seemed like a great idea. In practice, that was less of a great idea, it turns out. Only that there are no easy games in that division. When you look through the player kind of list.
I mean, we've got a winner of Big V in there. We've got a very experienced tournament director and some very experienced players.
There's
Good
there's a,
players.
there's a lot of good players. I think probably the newest player in that mix is probably Josh, and he
Mhm.
comes in leaps and bounds. So look, the way this actually played out is I think I lost all bar 2 games,
Mhm.
but in my defense, 1-0s. I think there was a 3-2 with Josh. We both went for hell, but there's literally one touchdown in all of these. The one I won was the one against the Halflings with Liam, which was a 1-2. And I drew against James and may have cheated slightly. So, that's probably a loss as well. One touchdown in every single one of these games, all super low scoring games, but they were just couldn't quite get it across the line. And it was that piece that, even relying on inducements, which, spoiler alert, there aren't a lot in sevens,
No.
and until you are bleeding a lot of, a lot of team value, there's a big difference. And once you start getting some skills on some players that you get to control, is it the best option? I don't know. I tend not to think so now.
What sort of skills did you end up in the end?
Look, we did all right in that. They weren't full, but I had a blitzer with the picked guard pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
My second blitzer had tackle strip ball,
Yep.
so
That's decent.
never bad. The catcher picked up sidestep,
Mm-hmm.
so rock solid. And I had a lineman with wrestle.
Are these all choices? Or
Yeah, no, I lent very heavily into the choices. But if I then flip it to look at, Josh's team, so Josh ran humans as well.
Mm-hmm.
We played last, and I looked at his team roster and went, oh, that's what I would like my team roster to be.
That's what one should have looked like.
A thrower. So his thrower picked up leader.
Mm-hmm.
His catcher had sprint, leap, and defensive. I'm pretty sure he randomized some options just in,
Yep.
I've got some star player points at the end, but he had a blitzer with pro and strip ball, another blitzer that picked up guard. It was just, I'm like, oh, he had a leader piece, a pro piece. His lineman where I had a wrestle, he got a block one. And then he just stacked on some randoms. And I'm like, it is just my team, but better. And he took the reroll at team creation.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh.
He's got a lot of randoms here. Strip ball,
Yeah.
brawler, fend, dauntless on a lineman, leap, sprint on a catcher. They're good random ones.
Yeah, he did all right. And a lot of that was, I'm running into the last couple of games. I'm not going to get a chance to do anything else with them. Let's just roll the dice and see what we get. And came out. That was a brutal game, our last one. But so that was kind of where the team landed. They were starting to get fun, but also everyone else. I felt very behind the 8 ball in a lot of games.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you there. Taking vampires, I thought I wasn't sure which way to go with the 4th vampire, and money was getting a bit tight. So what I did was I started off with a thrower, 2 throwers in fact, and a runner, and I think I started off with 5 throwers. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to chuck all my other money into dedicated fans to try and build up that gold later on during the season and get what I want. Which I still hadn't worked out whether it was going to be the Vargeist or maybe a Blitzer. But vampires, unskilled vampires, can be tough. My first game was against James, and we got the sweltering heat, and I was biting my own thralls left, right, and centre. Second half, I had 1 player on the field. And I think I got kicked 2 as well
Yeah.
from memory. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think round 2 I had to buy. Round 3 faced the Dark Elves, and that was another decent loss. But by the end of round 3, I had enough star player points to grab Pro on all 3 of my vampires.
That's
And
when
then
we
we
played.
And that was the game where everything went right for me. So Pro on Bloodlust. Didn't need it as often as I thought I would, which meant that the Pro was there to re-roll some block dice and all that sort of stuff. And I still, our game was a 1-0 game.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a landslide or anything, but Pro definitely made the vampires work.
It was all those moments where I'm like, oh, this is my chance. And you're like, oh, no, let's see if we can re-roll that. And I don't know that you really failed a Pro re-roll at those crucial kind of moments. No, it was glorious. So all of a sudden the vampires just turned up to the game, didn't explode their own team. And I'm like, oh, shit, this is a bit terrifying. Here I am wondering how you'd lost the rest of the games until,
Yeah. See, this is the one game that they turned up for. The other game, so I faced Josh straight after, and with Josh, I learnt quickly that I think I'd picked up the Vargeist by this stage after the game with you, I believe. And I was playing it safe, and I was running 3 vampires still on the field at once. And I realized after the game with Josh that I could have afforded to have all 4 on at the same time because of the Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my, okay, all right, this makes sense. I then played Liam and his halflings and lost that game. And then was going to be up against Ant in the last game, but we couldn't make it happen with due to sickness and my availability and his availability. So that ended up being a concede on his part. So I ended up with 2 wins for the season.
You're welcome for being the only legitimate one of those.
The only legitimate one was against you. But yeah, so the throwers, I ended up with Pro on both, leader on one of them. Of course, I got leader just before the game with Ant, so that didn't happen. My runner got Pro and block, and as a random, she got defensive. And then right before the game with Ant, I was like, well, I've got enough for a random on the Vargeist. If I can get block or something like that, that'd be cool. No, I got short hands. So
Sure.
Yeah, didn't need that. But yeah, no. So I enjoyed the vampires. They were a little bit difficult though, and they took a bit of getting used to.
Yeah, no skills to start with kind of hurts. And it's really, really tricky. And this is no different to previous vampires trying to balance that. How many vamps on the field? How many bodies do I need in reserve to bite?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the tricky bit. Once I sort of got my head a bit around that, the season was over. So that's all right. So anyway, if we go over our division and remembering that the bottom 2 are going down next season, what we finished in with at the end of the 6 games per team, so this is before the finals, James with his Imperial Nobility up the top with 4 wins, 2 draws. Followed, so 33 points, followed by Yelv on 26 points with 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss. Followed by Ant on 23 points with 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss. And that loss is really just a concede to me, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Josh on 21 points in fourth place, 2, 2, and 2. Then there's me at fifth, 19 points, 2 wins, 4 losses. 14 points, Liam with his halflings, 1 win, 1 draw, 4 losses. That win was against me. And then bringing up the rear, Jason his human team. 11 points, 1 win, 1 draw, 4 losses.
I had the same track record as the halflings, and they were the one team I beat.
But where did you fall over? Just trying to have a quick look here.
Every other game?
About, I think, yeah, he had one more touchdown than you, 1 more casualty than you. I'm guessing, yeah, 1 more point somewhere else. Basically came down to the game with Ant and I as to who would be relegated next season.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't score a single point against Ant, then, so no touchdowns, no casualties, no nothing, then it would be you and me going down.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the conceded game, I got a couple of points and I went up. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
That was a strategic concede there, wasn't it?
It was on Ant's part. I don't know. I might have preferred to go down with you. Well.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Do we go finals for Division 1? Let's do that.
Yeah.
So, top 4. So, we've got James at first, Yelv, Ant, and then Josh. So, first plays fourth. And second plays third. So, Yelv and Ant. This is High Elf on Dark Elf. Yeah, Ant pulled everything off this game.
Yelv's team exploded as well. Like, it was one of those ones that, again, he's just breaking armor. Everything went right. Halftime, he's taken half the team off the pitch kind of deal. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, so that was a 4-1 victory for Ant. And then James and Josh, that was a close game too, 3-2 in the end to James.
Yeah, absolute nail biter. And you know, Josh, even chatting to him afterwards, was saying that there's like, he realised that after he'd moved stuff, he's like, if I had have just done this, I could have got out of my own way. Mm-hmm. There were opportunities. So even in that 3-2, that he could have shuffled. But it really does speak to how good experience can be.
Yep. And Josh will get there. Josh came up last division. He was in Division 2 last division, and now
playing finals.
And not only that, but Yelv and Josh did play for third, and Josh came on top there too, 2-1. So awesome work. Josh came in third in the league in the top division. And then the final, Ant and James High Elf against Imperial Nobility. And this is where the elves fell apart, I think.
Yeah. Because interestingly, like you say, High Elf, Imperial Nobility in a final, neither of those are teams that you would expect necessarily. Like
High Elf's a good track record with sevens. Imperial Nobility less so.
But equally, High Elves, if you're going to play elves, like, the High is generally the last type of elf that people play.
Yeah, it is.
So I think it's a really good, just the fact that they were the 2 finals teams in the top division was interesting as a starting point. Mm-hmm. But I also don't know which way I would expect the game to turn.
No.
Just on paper.
This could have been anyone's game. In the end, it was James's game. So 2-1. So it's still a close game. James takes out the gold token that we've got for first place. Ant takes out the silver. All right. Division 2. All right. Leading Division 2 at the end of the season, Chad with his goblins. Still, like, I don't know what I thought Chad was playing, but it wasn't goblins. Why did I not see any of these games? Anyway.
You know those goblins that we talked about in the painting event?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the goblins he was playing. They were the goblins he was playing too.
Anyway, 3 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss, 35 points. Who did he lose against? This is the question. Against David. Gotcha. Oh, no, hold on. Let me just double check that. No, he lost to Jared. But anyway, 35 points, top of the league, top of the division. I keep saying that. The second, Oz with his Dwarves, 34 points, 1 point behind, 3 wins, 3 draws. Third was Jared's Wood Elves, 28 points, 2 wins, 4 draws.
It's a lot of draw.
High points for 4 draws. So basically, the way the points work is exactly how we do it in the tournament. So 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, no points for a loss, 1 point for each touchdown, up to a maximum of 3 per game, 1 point for each casualty, up to a maximum of 3 per game, and 1 point for shutting out your opponent. 28 points with 2 wins. Jeez. Good on you, Jared. And in fourth place, 27 points, is David with his Orcs, 2-2-2, followed by Dylan, Underworld, 1 win, 2 draws, 3 losses. James with his Amazons, which I don't think worked too well this season. 1 win, 2 draws, 3 losses, 15 points. And then Archie with his Imperial Nobility, 11 points, 1 win, 1 draw, 4 losses, which is exactly the same as you. Just pointing this out.
Yes, but he lost every single positional in his roster at some point there. Like, I feel like his result is justifiable.
Mm-hmm. Yours is not.
And yeah, he is not necessarily responsible for the...
No. Look, Archie did message me. He wasn't able... They weren't able to get to their last game for a number of reasons. And he's like, just call it there. I am over this team. It has not done what I wanted it to do.
Make it stop. We're already dead.
Bring on next season. So
yeah. Which I absolutely get. The Zons for James too. I think he had a couple of really harsh losses at key points as well, like with team members of his team getting squished. Yeah, and every time I saw him play, he seemed to be in the middle of a grind, and I'm like, buddy, that's not how they work.
No.
But they keep getting caught up. Yeah.
Oh dear. So we've got Archie and James going down to Division 3 next season, hitting the finals here. Number 1 plays number 4, so we've got Chad against David. So Goblins on Orc.
Seems very thematic.
It does, doesn't it? That went 2-1 to the Orcs. So after coming top of the division, Chad gets bowed out in the semis. Then Wood Elves on Dwarves. Jared and Oz.
This was a terrifying game. It was going to go one of two ways. Either it was going to be a dwarf game and all the elves would get smushed. And honestly, there would have been much rejoicing. Or the elves will do elf bullshit and just not be near dwarves at any stage.
And that's what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
It's a 3-0 win to the Wood Elves. So at the end of the semis, position 1 and position 2 both knocked out. Neither of them wanted to play for third, so we just called that a draw at the end. And then we've got Orc versus Wood Elf in the final. And as befitting a glorious final, this one went to overtime.
Oh, it was so good, and it was so tight, and you could watch the sweat on both of them start to bead as they were, who's going to receive, because that is an important role.
It is. It really is. And this game definitely could have gone either way, but it didn't.
It didn't, and I feel like the elves showed a little bit of teeth in that last half, like that last third. They got a little punchy and did some horrible things to some orcs.
Yeah. So a 2-1 victory for Jared and his elves, which means that Jared and David will both go up next season, which is terrifying. They're going to meet me in Division 1. That's kind of scary. Anyway, so great work to Jared getting the gold and David on getting the silver.
Yeah.
All right, Division 3. Right up the top, we have Moose with his Ogres, 33 points, 3 wins, 3 draws, not a single loss during the season.
More Noblars thrown than I have ever seen anybody.
And Moose has more fun than almost anyone I've ever watched playing Blood Bowl. He's doing it for the fun of it. He's almost not caring if he wins or loses. In fact, I don't think he does care if he wins or loses.
There is not a shit given.
And yet still comes first. Number 2, Lewis, playing his first season with us, with his human team, 30 points, 3 wins, 3 draws. Third place, Shambling Undead, Dylan, 3 wins, 3 draws. And then it gets interesting. So we go from 25 points for third. Fourth place, Alice with Nurgle, 16 points, 1 win, 3 draws, 2 losses. Narrowly beating out Kingsley on 15 points with one win, 2 draws, and 3 losses. Then bringing up the rear, Crotonhurst, Imperial Nobility, 1 win, 2 draws, 3 losses, 13 points. And Alex with his first season, Blackhawks, 2 wins, 4 losses, 12 points. He still beat you, mate. Just saying.
I mean,
first season he gets more points than you, and didn't win a game. Not that I'm berating your achievement this season.
I think I like to think that I proved what I went out to prove. Is that what you do in list creation is an important factor in your end result.
Yes, round 0 in Blood Bowl actually means something.
And I tried to compensate for a very poor round 0. And it turns out that's a tricky thing to do.
Oh dear. All right, so the finals. Here we have first place Moose with his Ogres playing Alice with Nurgle. This one was an interesting game. Went 3-1 to Nurgle.
They are not things I expected to ever hear said.
No.
Nor witness.
So what happened here, because I watched some of this game too, is Alice had the ball kicked to her. She scored reasonably quickly. Moose scored in return in like his last turn or something. Was it Alice? No, it was ball was kicked to Moose. Alice took it off him and scored quickly. And then Moose scores in his turn 6, and Alice has 1 turn. She's like, okay, well, we may as well start.
I guess.
Second half. Because, Nurgle, they never score in 1 turn. And Moose is like, no, what could happen is you could get a high kick and it could end up on this side of the board and you could score a touchdown that way. Which is precisely what happened.
He literally called it. I was talking to him after that shop had closed for the night, and he's like, she was literally going to just be like, all right, cool, there's let's just play the next half. And he's like, no, because you could. What's the movement of your players? Like, he was playing finals against his team. He still had no fucking idea what they did. He's like, what's the movement? And she's like, 7. He's like, fucking 7? Holy shit. I have set up completely on this side. There are clear lanes. There is not a dodge roll in sight. You set up. We get a high kick and the ball lands here-ish. You put a player there, you're a go for it or two away from scoring. Just roll good dice. And she's like, oh, that's never going to happen, blah, blah. And Moose almost had to push her into just set up and play the goddamn drive. And lo and behold, the ball scatters back towards Moose's kind of line, but not near anyone of consequence. They roll the kickoff. They get the 5 for a high kick. The little pestigore sits under the ball, catches it, and is only one go for it away to not falling on his face over a tripwire, and fucking made it.
Oh, dear. Just, this is final stuff here. It really is. She got the ball kicked to her second half, scored again, and then Moose's throwing goblins and things like that just weren't going to give him that second touchdown, no matter what he tried. Goblins were being, they're not goblins, they're nobblers. Why do they call them nobblers? Let's just call them snotlings. Snotlings were being thrown into other people left, right, and centre, most of them on Moose's side of the pitch.
Yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans, but it wasn't coming back at that point in time. It was Hail Marys.
Yeah, it was indeed. So 3-1 to Nurgle. And then we've got Lewis's humans against Dylan's undead. The undead didn't really know what to do here. They kind of gave up in the final, I think. They were like, nah, we played a decent season. We're all good. 2-0 victory to Lewis. Now, admittedly, some things went wrong for Dylan, but Lewis, my God, he can play. First season with us, he knew set up lines and all sorts of stuff. He was playing well, and he was playing very, mitigating those mistakes that you can possibly make and capitalizing on mistakes from the opponent. So he did extremely well, but 2-0 to him.
And then they played back-to-backs.
They did. This was the same night, back-to-back, which,
is better.
It's still tough.
It's so still good.
Because it's finals, and you put a lot more brain power into a final. So Alice and Lewis playing off in the final. After playing around just before, and as every good final should do, this one went into overtime as well.
The shop is cleared by this stage. There's like 4 people hanging around just heckling this game, and you can see the added pressure of people watching just not helping in the slightest at this point in time. Rich is trying to close up. He's fucking, packing up stuff and trying to shut the register and shit. And they were going into overtime. We're starting again. Mm-hmm. Rich came over and started heckling at one point. He's like, fuck it. If this is what's happening, I'm involved. I at one point in there, I did feel bad and walked away and just be like, no, I need to stop adding additional.
Yes. I tuned out a little bit for the third half because I felt the same way. I felt probably not helping anyone by standing here and watching. And, thinking these plays through is tough at the best of times. But Lewis taking it away 2-1. So awesome work to him. First season with us, takes out the gold coin. Alice coming away with the silver. which she never thought she would. You know, she's seen the coins that we have for the leagues, and I said, well, you're very close. All you got to do is beat Moose. She's like, well, that's never going to happen. And yet she came into, spitting distance of the gold from getting into overtime.
We had this conversation because she was starting the game and she's like, blah, 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 I'm never going to win this. I'm like, did you ever think you were going to be playing finals, Alice? And she's like, no. I'm like, yet here we are. Do you ever think you were going to one-turn touchdown on a high kick? No. Oh, right. Yeah. So, no. It was really good to see, A, both of them play the finals, B, two gorgeous teams between Alice's Nurgle team and then the converted human team that Lewis has done, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and to watch two of the finals go into overtime. Yeah, it's so good. All finals should be forced. I don't know how you make them do it, but they should.
All my greatest finals have gone to overtime. And
yeah.
Yes. One of those was against you, wasn't it?
That was your greatest, wasn't it? Because it was not my greatest.
Because you tried to stall. And Lewis is getting all behind the stalling thing, and I'm trying to say, hey, stalling doesn't always work.
It has moments of poor. Yeah, that should have worked in my defense. That
didn't.
Was safe. It was bloody safe. Anyway,
that's it. I will always remember that. You and your, what was it? There was a bloodletter, wasn't it? It was a corn team.
Yeah, it was a corn team, and you were playing Renegades.
Chaos Renegades.
Yeah, because it was the bloody Dark Elf that did it all.
Yeah.
And here I'm going, oh, yeah, you might be able to score in 2 turns, but you definitely won't be able to score in 1. If I just hold the ball for 1 turn, it'll be a lot safer. And that fucking Dark Elf made about 46 dodge rolls.
And uphill blocked from memory as well and knocked your guy out of the field.
All you needed was to drop the ball. And it was, anyway.
Ah, dear. I still remember one of my very first seasons in the Melbourne Blood Bowl League. I was playing Orcs because I was still getting used to the game again after a number of years not playing. And, yeah, I did the same thing. He stalled right on the back line, and I not only... And he was winning 1-0. And, yeah, he stalled on the back line. I managed to somehow put a guy on him, knock him out. The ball scattered, landed in the middle of everyone. I dodged an orc in, picked up the ball in like 2 or 3 tackle zones, dodged out, threw the ball, caught it, dodged away from the guy he was next to, and scored the equalizer. And the guy's like, what?
Yeah, this should not have happened. And that is why Blood Bowl is glorious.
It is. All right, so just a couple of things. Wrapping up the season, I'll just go through what seems important here. Most valued, Division 1, most valued Ant with a team value of 820k. Most versatile, which is touchdowns, casualties, completions, interceptions. That didn't happen. Injuries, defense, fouls. Both James and Ant on 37 there. Most scorer was James with 16.
So the people who won games did good things, is what I'm hearing.
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, a lot of... I believe this takes into account the finals as well.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if I managed to click that off or not. What else is good? Most beast, most number of casualties. James was 7. I got 5. I came second there. Most injured. Halflings on 8.
I mean, no one's really surprised.
But also the most number of kills was the halflings with 2. Most dirty plays, most number of fouls, that's halflings again with 5, and most completions Ant with 14.
14?
14, yeah.
That is...
That's nuts. Division 2, biggest team value, Dylan, 860. Most versatile, David, 49. Scorer, Wood Elves with 15. Best defense, Chad, with his Goblins.
The Goblins got best defense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is
interesting.
Yeah.
Also most injured there as well for the Goblins. Most casualties, David on 15, followed by Oz on 14.
The Orcs and the Dwarves, who would have thought?
Yep. Yeah, who would have thought that? Most fouls was the Dwarves with 5.
Oh, that's
And Division 3, Dirty Mike and the boys, Lewis's human team, who came out on top, 830k team value. Moose with the most versatile, 45 points. Lewis with the most touchdowns, 15. The most number of casualties was Moose with 12, followed by Alice with 8. Now, she normally tries to do the most casualties. That's her, the one she goes for rather than actually scoring the ball.
Yeah, it's kind of secondary, if that.
Mm-hmm. Most injured, Moose with 10. Look at this. Most casualties, Moose with 12. Most injured, Moose with 10. Most kills, Moose with 3. And then, because I want to point this out, because this needs to be pointed out, fouls is something that seems to be done a lot in Division 3. It is something that Kingsley tends to go for and gets very annoyed if he's not the highest. Kingsley with 17 fouls in 6 games. 17. Came second. Alex is 25. 25 fouls with the Black Orc. Now, I'm just wondering, is he doing the Alice thing and not worrying about the ball and just focusing on punching stuff, which is a valid way of playing Blood Bowl.
That is an option. I mean, not an overly successful one if the results are anything to go by, but beyond that...
Well, it depends. Like, is your success measured by the amount of wins and points, or is it measured by the amount of injuries and times you kick the bush in?
Well, he still lots to Moose. So...
But yeah, 25 fouls, 6 games.
That's glorious.
Nuts. That is awesome. Overall, very happy with their season.
That was
21 awesome players. I'm really looking forward to next season.
I'm super pumped for the next one. I'm really loving the chatter around the changes we made, what people liked, what's going to make the next one even cooler. So I think that's going to be super fun to kind of nut out over the next little bit.
We've got a couple of polls going at the moment. They've got a couple of days left in the Discord. But for the most part, everybody seems pretty much on the same page, which is good.
Yeah, it just gave. It was all of the good things about Blood Bowl 7s and then that little bit of extra in between games that I really enjoyed. And, it's 6 games. You can't level up that much in between 6 games. Like, it's not, you're not making monster teams. I mean, there were a couple of pretty monster teams, but like it's not an 11th league style where every player's got 46 different skills. Like, it was still reasonable and it was nice.
I mean, all of those teams, you heard the highest team value, only an extra 200 and something K.
Yeah.
It's not even, it's halfway between 7s and a standard 11s team.
Yeah.
Just with less players.
All of those things are true.
Yeah,
it was good fun. I mean, I'm pumped to next season. I've already got a placeholder team in there as well. That is kind of...
We've got 9 teams signed up already, which is excellent. And we will be starting season 5 Probably end of June is my rough guess at this stage. We
Yep.
need to sort out location, but we're also going to be waiting until after Thoughtless Bowl.
Yes. Because I need to play some of those games.
Yes.
We need some Thoughtless Ball games, and then I can think about actual league things.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of,
if you're in if you're in the Geelong area or you're willing to travel to the Geelong area, like some of the players, and you want to sign up for the season 5, it's a fun crew. We've got a lot of good people here.
and I think the other call out here is it's super. So it's one game a fortnight. We're not pumping out a game a week, and we try to get a dedicated night that most people can make. And then if you can't, work that shit out yourselves and play a game. You got 2 weeks, and if you can't make it, no one's crying.
No. There were a couple of times this season that I let people go over the 2 weeks too. As long as they're not holding up the rest of the teams, there's no issue.
No.
We want to get those games in. We want to have a bit of fun.
This is it. If you want to play some fun games, and the other thing I really like about the Sevens League with a game a fortnight and all that jazz is you can finish a day of work, play a game of sevens, and still be home at a reasonable hour, unless you spend an hour or two out the front of the store chatting after it's shut. In which case you're still home late. But otherwise, it's an extra hour on your day kind of deal. Then it's not a huge investment, and it's super cruisy. Like, it's such a fun environment to play in when you've got a few games going and everyone giving each other a little bit of stick. We like this.
What have you done with your team name? Is that just emojis?
Yeah. I didn't know if it'll let me, but it does. So I just made it a goose and a badger.
So gnomes, eh?
Look, that is the placeholder team. I'll see how many people jump on that bandwagon, because I would like to spread out the teams a little bit. If we do see a bunch of people jump on, I'll flip over to something else. I've got a couple of ideas in the wings. But I feel like if no one else is playing them, it'd be fun to play against. That's the hope, at least.
Yeah, I haven't worked out. I've got a placeholder of a Norse team in there at the moment, because Norse is one of the options for me. Again, I'll do the same. If somebody else is playing Norse, I'll jump on something different just for shits and giggles. But my idea is that this season, I will have a painted team by the last game. Which I did not have this season.
I'm hoping to have mine by the first game at this rate. We're doing all right.
You're doing okay. I've got to fully decide on my team before I can. This
may not be the team I'm playing. Let's be clear, but
all right. So, season 5. If you want some information, jump in our Discord. Links are in the show notes. All that sort of stuff. If you're not in our Discord, jump in anyway, because we've got a lot of people in there willing to chat. Not only Blood Bowl, but also a number of other games.
There's been a lot going on. There's been a lot of Underworlds chat. There's been a lot of Kill Team kicking off. There's been some other just random stuff come up. Somebody threw in Moonstone the other day. That was dangerous. Had me looking at stuff again, and I didn't like that at all. There's a bunch of different games kicking along, and even just some sort of board games and collectible card games, and fucking every once in a while we get on a bit of a Marvel chess snap rant. Life is it's a good place to hang out and talk shit.
It's a friendly Discord too, which is great. Yeah, we haven't had any issues. There's nobody we've had to kick out or anything like that. No arguments. Everybody's just there for the fun of whatever game they're talking shit about, which is great.
Glorious.
Anyway, we mentioned it.
We did. Mentioned it, we did.
1st of June.
What a date. It's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a great day.
The very first date of June is going to be a good day. You know why it's going to be a good day? Because there will be a bowl. It will be a very, very thoughtless bowl. It will be number 5
Number
It will be
5.
the fifth bowl that is thoughtless. That is many.
Yeah, it is here in Geelong. Tickets are on sale now. If you're up for a crazy day of sevens shenanigans, we pride ourselves that we run a pretty decent sevens tournament. God knows what we'd be like with an 11s tournament.
Oh, fuck me.
That's
Tired.
kind of scary. But sevens, yeah, we run a good one.
Yeah, no, we're good at that. Like, yeah, it's that, and I think the call out here is it's always a fun day. It's not a day where your brain has melted by the end of it and you're like just crawling home. It's a day where you kind of play a bunch of games. You go, fuck, I want to play more games. Like, it's always good for that. It's nothing extra super wacky that you've got to think about. It is just straight up seven. So you want to get into Blood Bowl, you want to get into the game. It's a good one to do that. You'll get a bunch of games against a bunch of people that are more than happy to go, oh, I think you forgot to move your turn marker. And you remember that guy has block. Like, they're the people we're playing against. So it's literally always fun. Can recommend. That's the moral of the story here. Worth making a day of.
20 tickets sold so far. We can probably go up to double that if we get enough people.
Yeah.
But
bring a friend.
Can't recommend it enough. Really, not just because we're doing it, but because it's such a fun game. It's a fun game to organise. It's a fun game for all those people. All the feedback that we have back is just people enjoying themselves.
I said this to someone today, semi-related to this, but I literally, the comment here is, we run events that we would want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the type of game that we've been chatting about and the kind of amusing things that you know give us the tickle and then we bother recording about is the kind of thing that you're like, oh, you know, that sounds like it's fun. Like, that's the event that we're teeing up. So that's kind of the endorsement that we can give it. We're running events that I would want to go to. Like, this is the kind of thing I'd be like, yeah, put that one in the calendar. I am making that. Because it's just silly fun. That's what I'm here for.
We have some awesome sort of stuff to give away. We have some awesome prizes lined up. We have sponsorships from Charlie Victor and Just as Prince, and one more.
Doc Miniature just came on board. So that's happening. We've got some cool stuff for people to walk away with, even before we start talking about prizes. So it's going to be fun.
Excellent. Make it happen, people. You won't regret coming. I'll tell you that much. What else we have on? We do have a giveaway on Facebook. Giveaway now. A lovely set of sable brushes.
You know that bit in the song, though, where you say, what I've got, you got to get and put it in you?
Don't put
Instead of doing that, can you say, what I'd like is I'd like to hug and kiss you? Anyway. No, they are there.
Oh, that works so much better.
It's everyone can appreciate that. No, it is. And it's a massive set. So it's this bloody tube of brushes, and it is literally like every single size. It goes from like your /0 sizes up through to some pretty big ones. So it should be everything that you need in brushes and more for the very foreseeable future. They are sable. They will last if you look after them. You should look after them because they should be very nice.
8 brushes sized 0 to 7. With each brush sized and named after creatures of myth, all in a velvet pouch. This is a expensive set of brushes. This is not a set of brushes I would buy for myself because I would not look after them.
But you didn't have to buy them. You don't have to buy them. You win them, and then you do what you want with them. Also, did we mention they come in a velvet pouch?
Velvet.
Velvety.
All you need to do, jump on Facebook, like the post, tag a friend, and now there is an and the people, it's hilarious watching the people that haven't read the full post. And ironically enough, the people that haven't read the full post are all members of our Discord. To get in the draw, like this post, tag a mate, and let us know what model you want to tackle first with these. You know, which model have you got in your pile of shame that you would like to get some good brushes to get up?
I'm not doing this one until I get some really sexy brushes to help me do it justice. Like, what's that model?
Yes. So, and I have said most interesting choices will get an extra entry. So there are extra entries up for grabs. I have given a couple up there. You know, I'm seeing some really cool looking models and ideas of what people want to paint, which is good. To be perfectly honest, most interesting, it's totally a personal preference. So I'm just reading it.
Mention butt stuff. It's probably going to help.
Yeah, look, you know, it's not going to not help. Just, yeah, don't stick the paintbrushes there. Anyway, that will go until the end of May. That'll be drawn. I could even draw it at Thoughtless Bowl.
That would be after the end of May.
Yeah, 1st of June. That's about all I've got. You got anything else you want to mention?
When have I ever got anything else I want to mention?
Always, but have you got anything decent worth mentioning?
Nothing worth mentioning, no. Oh, absolutely not.
Thank you for listening. Give us a follow. Facebook?
Facebook. Spotify.
Facebook, Spotify, Podbean, Twitch. Give us a review on any or all of those. Reviews on those sort of things do help get our name out and get the wider public bit of information about us. So if you've got time,
this on others, Schadenfreude.
You've listened to it. Make somebody else listen to it. You shouldn't be the only one suffering.
Misery loves company.
That's it. As always, thank you very much to our Patreons who help us put on these sort of giveaways and help us make events like Thoughtless Bowl as awesome as we can possibly make them. In particular, as always, our Thoughtless Patreons: Alice, Archie, Clinton, Craig, Gertzy, Jared, Kingsley, and Yuri.
I'm holding up too many fingers. You people are silly.
Yes.
As always.
Thank you very much, guys. Later.
Cheers. Catch up.